Alright everyone, so this video is going to basically be a demonstration of how I want you to start painting, okay? So you're going to go ahead and grab your sketchbook, okay? This is just a small sample, alright? So a smaller paper than what you have. And then we're going to start taping it down to your sketchbook. And the reason why we tape it to your sketchbook is because you're going to need to keep the paper nice and flat, okay? As you apply the paint's going to have water on it, right? So it's going to start bending your paper, and then when it dries, it's going to get all funky if it's not nice and flat. So what I'm doing is I'm leaving just a little bit right there, all right, just a little line. I'm not doing it like this, I'm not doing it like this, all right? I'm keeping it nice and straight so that my border becomes nice and straight. I do want to make sure that your paper has a border, so that's why we're taping it down as well. Tape does two things: it keeps it nice and flat, and it creates a border. Now this right here is really close to the paper, so I'm just going to have to do a smaller border on this side. All right, that's one. All right, do the top. Make sure this is flat as I go, and apply that right there. All right, and then I'm gonna get more tape, and then I'm gonna apply on the edge. So this is gonna get cut off, but I can actually erase that once I'm done. Okay. All right, so there you go. I can even write my name down here, right? Name, so that you know it's yours. So we're gonna put these on the side, and if you, in case your name isn't up down here or on the sides of your sketchbook, then we'll really know who it belongs to, right? Watercolors. All right, I'm gonna go with purple. All right, so first I'm just gonna grab purple right out of the palette. Right, you can't really tell that this is purple, but it is. I'm gonna activate it. All right, and when I mean activate is I'm just gonna make sure that there's a little bit of water in there. All right, and I'm gonna lay down my first color. All right, so this is gonna be purple. All right, and depending on the drawing that you have, you're gonna need, maybe a thick brush or a thin brush. All right, I'm doing this kind of quickly, but I don't want you to do it quickly. I want you to take your time doing it so that it comes out neat. Talk about, again, craftsmanship, right? Being as clean and as neat as possible when you're making something so that it's presentable, right? Doesn't matter if you get a little bit of paint on the tape, because it's tape, it's not going to show on your paper, right? So if you look at my foreground, it's mainly just trees, and the middle ground is also trees. So what I'm doing here is I'm making sure that this is all the same color, okay? And I'm not mixing. If you look at the way I'm grabbing the paint from the palette, I am not really adding water as I go. I'm just like spreading the paint around however it is that it is already done. Okay, I'm not adding more water to anything. I'm just using the brush. And then I'm going to make my own lines here because this looks kind of weird. All right, so if I notice that maybe I do need more paint or more water for my paint, I might get a little bit of water, just a little bit. Dip my brush in just a little bit of water, and then clean my brush out just a bit so that it doesn't have a bunch of water in there. And then go back to the purple, straight to the purple, and then go back. All right. And as I mentioned in the previous video, your first layer might not look as deep and saturated with color as you would want it to be. So you have to let this dry and then hit it again with another layer so that it gets to the hue that you want it to have actually. So when I say hue, I just mean color, right? You want it as solid as possible. When I say saturated, I mean as bold and strong of a color as possible, right? So I'm not really happy with this blue, if you notice, or this purple. This purple goes from kind of dark to a little lighter on the tips. So I'm gonna go back. And if it's dry enough, should be able to go back in and really apply the color. Or apply the hue. And then go back. So that makes it deeper, all right? And then I'll just keep going. You'll notice that it changes as it dries. So you'll need to see it dry from time to time so you can see where you're at and how to go from there. So let's say this is my foreground, right? The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some of that purple. I'll probably apply it. Let's see. I'll apply it to maybe here. Get a little bit of water. Put some water on down here. Then snag some purple. Put it in here. Snag more purple. Put it on here. And I'm basically just building a little pool of purple on here. All right. And it already has a good amount of water, and I can add a little bit more water. The more water I put, the lighter it's going to get, right? So let's see. This should be pretty light. It's not as light as I thought it was going to be, but again, once the foreground dries, then you'll be able to add a second coat to it, and that'll make it really, really saturated, nice and deep with whatever color you want it to be. All right? And that's basically it. Those are the steps that you're doing, okay? You do 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 being like, I'm going to do an example. I'm just going to grab a bunch of water, right? And then just literally just, I have a little bit of purple here, just dip one time and then slide that across. And you can't really see it probably on the camera, but there's a little bit of purple on there. Very, very little. That's what I'm looking for. Just the slightest tint of purple with water. And that's why it's called tint. All right, let me try again. Some purple from down here. And there you go. It's getting darker. So 1, 2, 3, and then 4. All right, good luck.